What do wives need to orgasm? When both spouses are able to bring each other to orgasm, it makes their sex life more successful. And we are going to find out how to do that today. But first, hi. I'm Mary Whitman Ortiz of Limitless Intimacy, bringing you the best tips and tools to create great intimacy in your marriage. And on this channel, we talk about communication strategies and intimacy made simple steps, all from a Christian point of view. So, if you're new here, we invite you to subscribe. I'm also going to ask you to stay until the end because I have the single most important truth about orgasms. All right, back to today's question. What do wives need to orgasm? I have 10 tips. This is crazy. This is such a valuable episode for you to watch today. Number one, she needs to know that she's not a man. Her orgasm is not going to be like a man. It's not going to happen. It's not going to show up like a man. It's not automatic that a woman will have an orgasm. And if she starts to feel like she's being compared and she has to do things like her husband does, or else, what's wrong with her? We've got to stop that line of thinking for sure. We don't want her to feel pressured because she is not supposed to be performing. This is an authentic experience. That's an overflow of your commitment and your love. Number two, when you shift the goal of your marriage to connection and not just orgasm, it's going to be easier for that to happen out of the overflow. What does that even look like? Well, it requires both of you to have the attitude of serving one another. Entitlement and selfishness do not work out well in marriage. So the sooner that you pinpoint ways that you have been selfish, that you've acted entitled, or if you've let resentment grow, specifically regarding sex, the sooner you can identify that and take care of it, the better things will be. Number three, focus is a real issue for women because she has to give her mental yes before she can give her emotional yes and then her physical yes. So guys, I hope you're getting some appreciation right now. It is quite possible that your wife is working harder than you to make orgasm happen. And I will just say, not from a selfish point of view, because we know that mutual is definitely going to be better. And think about a woman who may struggle with ADD, ADHD, and focus is just an issue. So she's got that as a double barrier. She's not trying to be difficult, all right, guys? She is working as hard as she can. It's just such a different experience for her compared to you that we need some understanding on both sides of this. She has to leave the to-do list in her mind, all of those tasks left undone, even the basic, oh no, did I switch the laundry from the washer to the dryer? She has to leave those thoughts, what the kids' responsibilities are for school the next day, some project that she's got at work, all of those thoughts she has to leave. She has to make the shift to let this moment be priority. And it's just difficult. It's a job. It's a choice. It is a part of the work. That place right there is the bridge. A lot of women don't identify that's a bridge because once you cross it, things are easier. And a lot of husbands are like, come on, just do it, just do it. And none of those attitudes help. So we need to find a way to gracefully, easily make the shift and to let go of some of those things. And I hope that this is encouraging you so far, this emotion. If you're getting some value, will you give us a thumbs up? How about, oh, I've got a question for you to answer in the comments too. What was your source for learning about sex? Was it friends? Was it magazine articles? Was it some leaders in your life? Fill in the blank. Tell me, how did you learn about sex? Okay, now we have our fourth tip. She needs her to give herself permission to let go of the caregiver details. Even though that dominates most of her thoughts all day long, even if she's at work, she's still in that mode. And make the shift. This is another level to that shift, like, I'm going to a spa. I'm going to be restored and rejuvenated. It's gonna be worth it to have this experience. Just imagine this super boost to your health, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's a part of it. Think about hotel sex. So many of my clients are like, everything's so different when we're on a trip. Why is that? So it's like your own personal holiday that you can schedule anytime you want. This personal paradise, I like to call it an erotic, exotic escape. You need to get your brain in gear, let your thoughts cultivate this incredible setting. Invitation for you. And listen, that is all a part of God's design for great sexual intimacy in marriage. Number 5, she needs to see the benefits of sex are worth the work. And I have a list. I'm going to go through them quickly. That hormone dump is such a boost. It affects you emotionally and physically and mentally. It'll just amp up your energy so you could count on it. You can count on it being a positive thing for your overall being. The hormones also increase your sense of closeness and bonding. I'm telling you, so many couples that when they come together sexually, then they can face things happening in their life. Like back during COVID, this was a lot of the advice I was giving to couples. Of course, we saw some more babies, so I guess they took my advice. But when you make that time, you prioritize intimacy, the bonding happens, and then you want to be, just by nature, by God's design, hormones happening in your body, you desire to be intimate again. Spiritually, you are reenacting the covenant. This is God's image for what marriage looks like in the most precious and treasured moment. And you get to bring heaven to earth in your sexual intimacy. You have the power to make all of these good God blessings happen for you. Number 6, she has to consider what blocks might be interfering. Does she have messages that sex is dirty? Is there a lot of shame around sex? I mean, growing up in the church, there's so many no's that were emphasized and not the right messages about what the yes was, what the good was after you're married. Maybe there's some past experiences that are unresolved and they only flare up during sex. Well, addressing that is going to help everything be easier, to be better. Once again, if there's any resentment or entitlement or manipulation in your marriage now, that has to happen. That manipulation thing can be subtle but deadly. So we've got to do some work to identify if that's going on. Would you like to know what a healthy and godly marriage looks like with emotional and sexual intimacy? Well, hey, I invite you to the Dream Team Marriage Intensive starting April 15th. Wow, we have a 90-day program and we give you a biblical foundation of God's original design, not something that's been warped by typical church teaching. We give you fun ideas on how to make intimacy that next level best for you, and then a blueprint with proven steps. How can you sustain this? It's not just a once and done. We want to make sure this is your new normal, your new woohoo. Let's enjoy everything that God has for us. So check that link out below. All right, number 7. Does she know the practical aids that will bring her to orgasm? We've been talking about mental things and spiritual things and emotional things. So there's some real practical things. Foreplay is so important. I have an entire video on foreplay. Check it out. I'm going to give you lots of details. I talk about the series of words and touch that she needs to experience because she is aiming for a spirit, soul, and body encounter. And, there are non-sexual words that are affirming and affectionate. There can be sexual words, and the touch, it's going to change in location. It's going to change in intensity. And the wives need to find out what she likes, what her preference is, and she needs to communicate that to her husband so that he can help her along on that journey. She doesn't want the exact same thing every time, but there will be a pattern, and definitely the words and the touch, that gradual building that's just going to come to a place of preparation for even more stimulation. Number 8, does she know the power of her clitoris? Now listen, this is the only organ in anybody's body, in the woman's body that was designed for pleasure only. That's the whole reason that God made it. And we need to find ways to stimulate the clitoris, knowing that can just be a fun trial and error exploration process. What is that doing for you? Number 9, sort of in regards to the clitoris, what lubrication is being used? Now, some Christians have a pushback about lubrication. They're like, oh no, well, if it doesn't come with the body, then maybe it's not supposed to be used. But I would just challenge you. There are some passages, Song of Solomon. I think there are some things that are used to enhance lovemaking. And listen, we don't want to be religious. We want to get to God's original design because it is good. And number 10 is in conjunction with that. This clitoris is so powerful. I've got basically 3 whole points dedicated to it. Number 10, the external stimulation of the clitoris. This can use that lubrication. This can be a manual with hands, with touch. This can be oral sex that the clitoris is stimulated. This can be a vibrator. I mean, there are different positions where you're laying next to each other, rubbing on each other, and the clitoris is definitely stimulated. So that is so important to include. Hey, and she can be brought to orgasm through clitoral stimulation only. It can be incorporated as a preparation for intercourse and orgasm, or just an experience unto itself, or all of the above, because God is a God of abundance. So just make sure that you're having conversation about things that may have been fringe to you before. Don't participate in them until you are both on the same page with that. Okay, I promised you, here we go. The single most important truth about an orgasm is having an orgasm cannot be the driver of your sex life. And actually, it is not the measure of the success of your sex life. Neither is the intensity of the orgasm. Oh, was that a 8? Was that a 9? No. We are going back to the feeling of connection, that legit, authentic bonding that you are in there together, spirit, soul, and body. That is the ultimate measure of the success of your sex life. So thanks so much for joining me today. And remember, God's design for sexual wholeness in your marriage is fulfilling and thrilling intimacy.